Lara Dowell, Head of People Success at the Talent Management Hub, and joining me is our team member, Anya Stepchenko, all the way from Germany, who is a trauma therapist, mental health counselor, and all-around psychotherapist. And she has a beautiful story to tell about trauma and recovery that is helpful for especially a time like this in the Caribbean, where we have warships in our oceans, we have threats of wars, rumors of wars, we have people being bombed at sea, and then we have Hurricane Melissa that has ravaged so many Caribbean islands. Welcome, Anya.
Hello, Lara. Good to see you. Good to be here. Society in our world, so much war trauma is affecting a lot of people, all the families, one way or the other, kids, teenagers, and we see so much pain around. We see a lot of anxiety and depression, and we see that people are triggered and past trauma and things that they were even forgotten, they come to the surface again.
Yeah.
And now thinking a bit back and dealing with just the war in my own country, coming from Ukraine, being Ukrainian myself, and now being in Germany as someone who had to flee the war in my own country, in my homeland. It's been quite intense experience for me and a lot of my other friends and countrymen, my colleagues. So yeah, being here for 3.5 years, but definitely saw so much pain and grief even before the war started, because it's been in the media everywhere that it's incredibly dangerous situation, that we don't know what's going to happen. People were uncertain. Some people started fleeing in advance when still the flights were available or was an option. So some took that step, others were in denial, some were so scared, some were confused. How can they leave the relatives that are elderly behind? This was a lot of pain. Even now I'm telling you this and goosebumps I have, and my whole body is aching physically.
Country that did nothing wrong, a country that simply wanted to sell gas, and now the gas is surrounded by warships. The question nobody in the mainstream media is asking is very, very simple. When superpowers fight for oil and gas, what happens to the little countries who are sitting on the top of that energy? Tonight, Trinidad and Tobago is learning the answer the hard way. And here's the problem. If America and Venezuela go into a direct war, Trinidad and Tobago is stuck in the middle of the power struggle that it cannot survive.
And yeah. I can actually relate, like everything you're saying. I'm like, that is exactly where we're at right now, where there's a combination of denial, there's those who are taking action, there is all this uncertainty. There's some people think it's a hoax, some persons are, panic buying and planning to flee. All of that is exactly where we're at currently, right? And there's so much like lack of information, misinformation. It's all over the media, social media. There's, and they're literally bombing boats at sea. People are dying. So it's already like, oh my gosh, what's next?
So, wow. Absolutely. And that's exactly how it is. And something we know right away, that things like that people cannot control. We cannot control the government. We cannot control things that are basically not within our power. So then it becomes a challenge to differentiate what kind of things are in our power to change and what kind of things are not. So when we think of it, I often talk to my clients about the circle of control, or different people call it differently, but that means that we have to, first of all, go back to realizing and reminding ourselves that my feelings, my actions, right, and my thoughts, it's something that I can control. And my attitude, right, or my proactive actions, but not other people's actions or other people's thoughts or other people's feelings. So then it becomes a challenge is, okay, what can I do today? And that's what I had to ask myself. How can I prepare myself if something tragic like this happens? What can I do for my children? What can I do with my parents or about my parents? What would be the potential plan if things come to worse? So I still remember how we were all coached to have this, little backpack always ready with the documents and immediate things of
A go
necessity.
bag. A go
Yes,
bag.
which was
Yeah.
so painful because the reality hit, and that's exactly the only thing that people were able to carry. That's exactly the only thing. And a lot of people went with 2-3 kids alone, mothers, and that's all they had. And for some months ahead, and basically depend on other people to support and provide and like basic things, food and so on. So this is something that is just a basic, physical, practical little detail. And I know many people, of course, are aware of it in this trying time and this uncertain time. But something I want to focus on is that what can we do about our emotional state, about our inner feelings, our mixed thoughts, right, about the incredible fear and anxiousness. So this is something that is not healthy to carry alone. So now we talk about how, sometimes we say it takes a village to raise a child, right? So it takes probably 10 villages to support someone going through war. So then it means, okay, don't stay with your pain alone. So meaning do be real with the people you trust, people in your inner circle. Also take time and reflect what's going on with me. Start listening to your body. Our bodies are signals of our internal state, of our emotions and feelings. So we need to be aware of what's happening because it's so unique for different people. It's different things, right? Some are maybe even numb. They cannot feel because they're just paralyzed. And we know about trauma response. Yes, sometimes we see people that are numb, other people run, and other people fight. So we see all these different categories of people responding very differently. However, if we understand ourselves and what's going inside, only then we can actually take actions, and only then we can seek support and help for ourselves. And if we do that for ourselves, we are more efficient, effective, and helpful to those around, whether it's to our own children, to our family members, to our employees, or colleagues, team members, and so on and so forth. So we gotta start with ourselves. We gotta start taking quality care of ourselves, self-compassion, understanding self, right? And basically have a challenge of being an example, especially as leaders, especially as people of influence. So that's number 2, I would say, besides like physical preparation. Number 2 would be emotional preparation, starting with yourself.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And one of the things we'll do, I'm a trained and certified person, which is first responder, and I've been sharing with my friends and relatives some of the things that they should have in that go bag. So I'll prepare a list and I'll work with you, Anya, to make sure I don't miss anything, because I'm going to put it in the caption below, a link to it, and persons can access it to get prepared for, we're going to prepare for the worst and we're going to pray for the best. But
That's right.
It is critical to be prepared for the worst, as you say, because we can think it's the Caribbean, no more is going to happen here. I'm sure you guys thought like,
Absolutely. We would never dream. And for many, many generations, we thought that's in the past after facing World War II.
Yeah. So we covered physical and some of psychological, but I feel like we have to bunker down a little bit more on psychological. Is there like a list of how do we assess ourselves, right? For those persons who may be numb or in shock, or, just, I would imagine moving from denial to acceptance can be a bumpy road, right? And things that you've never imagined happening. How do we prepare for that? Should we have a checklist? Should we, I could say this is what you put in your go bag, but what do we put in our psychological go bag? as we encounter things like the possibility of war and recovering from devastation like Hurricane Melissa? What do we put in our psychological go bag?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is incredibly important because we think of this, right, often in very physical ways in terms of, right, documents or valuable things, but at the same time, yes, we want to be prepared emotionally. And now I think just talking about developing the skill of resilience, right? Develop like facing something we don't know and also facing ourselves that we don't understand. We don't know how each one of us would respond in something as traumatic as that. Which means there is not a specific way or to-do list prior, right? However, there are certain things that as we continually in our personal growth process, if we are committed for holistic, well-rounded lifestyle, attending, doing healthy self-care and attending to our needs physically, mentally, socially, as well as professionally, and with our hobbies and self-care. So if we kind of choose that path, that we are not only focused on in denial and professional, I'm just going to do career, I'm just going to earn a lot of money, that's enough, or I'll just only think about, okay, how can I relax enough now, because who knows when I will relax again, but more about, I know and I want to choose my safety support system, right? So who are my people? Who are my key people? Do I have solid friends? Let's say 1, 2 that I can talk to no matter what. Do I have maybe family members that are going to support me no matter where they are, no matter where I am, that I can talk to? Do I have opportunity to maybe reach out for support, whether it's, to, let's say, professional counselor, coach, mentor, someone that could be a person for me that I could call or talk online or even have the number in hand, because if things come to the point of crisis, I need to have safe people that can process with me, that can give me some objective feedback or encouragement, because only we do need to have self-compassion and we need to learn how to do it to ourselves, but we do need other people. We are created social human beings, right? And we are in community. We are not solo in this world. So that would be key, as well as just some tools. Even if I think, in my story, I had 2 little girls with me going alone, having to escape Ukraine, leaving my parents behind the first day of the war, where I couldn't even get the tickets for my family members. They were all sold out. They were sold out. And the way God orchestrated, in my case, I actually had booked very short vacation in the mountains, in Carpathians. And I bought those tickets about 3 days before the war started. I had no idea. No idea. I only can say that this was God protecting me and my kids, because my tickets were in the evening scheduled train tickets to go to Carpathian Mountains the same day the war broke. I opened my phone 6 in the morning, all the alarms, the whole alert system, war has started. And I knew that moment that I'm not packing my suitcase for vacation. That's it. Whatever I pack today, it's going to be because I'm fleeing with my 2 daughters. And I immediately went online. I was checking for train tickets for my parents, for my brother. Nothing. So the roads were blocked. The tickets were sold. Airlines were not available anymore. It was absolutely catastrophe. People, started going to the border. They couldn't. There've been lines for days. My friends were stuck for days with children in the car. The car is not moving to even cross the Polish border at that time. So this was also, I couldn't have planned, right? All we could do as people, we pray, we trust God, and we do the best with what we have. So meaning, yes, I knew that there would be people I could call. And yes, I hope that for those that are facing something like this, they know that they have support. Even me as a psychologist, I always pursued my personal counseling, specifically that the times when I am especially in need of support, that I have someone professional to support me. And then later, coming to Poland, finally getting to Western Europe and having some volunteers that came back then from United States to support the children. Oh, now this is like so personal. And they were doing actual art therapy with my kids and other kids in this Christian center, Christian university that hosted many of us. We had 6 people in one room, 2 level bunk beds, 4 kids, 2 adults. It was just lines for food that was provided for free. And then we had these people that just volunteers. Sometimes there were people from Poland, from different countries that stepped up, brought food, brought, practical things, but also sat down with the kids and adults and trying to do process. So while adults were talking about their feelings, singing worship songs, praying together because they were overwhelmed, our kids were attended to as well, and they done a lot of drawing. We saw many tears, we saw a lot of fear, we saw so much. It just was an environment where people started processing because there was safety where they felt. The kids were starting to open up, adults were crying, and they knew, everyone, that we are all in the same boat. So it wasn't like somebody there, outside of war, facing the war, and others are not. We all were in the same boat. So when we find a community, maybe we find even a group, support group, maybe even a therapy support group, that's the opportunity for us to find other people who are in the same boat, as I would say, who understand each other, who can be mutual support to each other, who connect in a way that, as we are out there alone, we can't. And just that alone, with the, with mentorship or facilitation of the group, creates this inner peace, knowing, what, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy that I'm feeling mixed emotions, denial, being numb, angry, furious, devastated, sad, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Where's my other family members,
Yeah. And it's important for us to understand that we can't feel several emotions at the same time. It is normal, especially at a time like this.
Yeah, we had to, in a way, to accept the new normalcy, right? And it was something foreign. I still remember how myself, as well as my other friends with whom I was in Poland initially for 2 weeks, they were saying, how do we dare to drink coffee or smile or laugh when our other family members are facing bombing, and missile attacks and so on and so forth, and actually the enemy coming into our cities and destroying the houses, destroying everything they can see, and it was scary. I remember sitting in the window, looking at my kids running around, and I love coffee. I couldn't drink coffee. I thought, no, this is way too selfish. I cannot sit here and enjoy my cup of coffee because my family is suffering there. They couldn't even have tickets to go.
Wow. I can't imagine. And I pray that the Caribbean does not see anything like that. But I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
But I do want to also encourage, because see, now time passed, the war is not over. And of course, every situation is very unique with each country. We absolutely agree with you. First of all, we do hope and pray that your country, your people never face what we faced, right? And that's something I'm sharing, not to scare in any way people, right? It's just my own story. But what I want to do is that to say that in spite of those kind of trials, in spite of that trauma that actually hit our people, we can move on, we can move forward. And it does not mean that we have to stop all the other areas of our ministry or work. Or caring for close ones, loved ones, our children who need us as well. So in a way, it was a very unique and different, scary experience where, in spite of the pain, of shock, of not being able to have coffee, I started seeing little by little people going back to their regular activities,
Right.
more so to their ministry as well as their jobs, and having to keep living, right?
Yeah.
Keep moving on.
Yeah.
And I had different feelings about it, right? Some, because we are all different, and some were, in that state for quite a while. And all they can do is reposting all these horrific pictures and videos and just mourn and mourn and grief. And that's not wrong. Where others, I would see they keep working. They keep talking about networking, public relationships, marketing, things like that. And I'm thinking, how is this possible, right? Where do people find strength to talk about marketing,
One.
media, or whatever it is, or
Regular
continue?
life. Regular life.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's interesting because sometimes we compare, right? And we think, okay, those people that mourn and repost the war videos, they must be more compassionate or something like that,
Yes.
right? Or
Yes.
more real or whatever. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
First of all, we do need to give ourselves the right and freedom to feel what we feel and to be at whatever stage everyone is, which is very different, right? So for some people, the grief hit later, for
Yeah.
others, hit right away. But the people actually that were able to move on and do whatever they're called to do, little by little, maybe not the same speed, right? Maybe with breaks, maybe just little by little, actually went through this initial shock a lot smoother. So they didn't give up, right? They faced the feelings. They talked about the feelings.
Yes.
Some of them had counselors. I know, like this is my circle of people, even, right?
Yes.
So some had support. Some talked on the family. Some processed, cried, grieved, right? Let themselves be angry, but then nevertheless, they, kept moving, baby steps forward.
I think this is
Continue.
such a huge, huge point. I was listening to the news recently and I heard that the university started back in Jamaica. They started back school as usual and there were students who were still not in the country. And my initial reaction was gasp. You're just going about life as usual. And I think sometimes even from a leadership perspective, the question is, what is the line between being compassionate and moving forward? Because there's so many things you're juggling. You want to be able to pay your staff because it's a crisis, but you have to be productive in order to make money, in order to satisfy certain things, because you have the big picture in mind, right? Like you have people to support. So the business has to continue. You want to continue the business, but you also want to be compassionate about the crisis. But in the crisis, in order to support, you have to do the business. So it could be a very perplexed, hard jerking mind. There's a battle. And as leaders, coping is focusing on, well, the bigger picture is in order to support these people, the work must go on. And if you're anything like me, I cope better when I'm busy. I need to get stuff done. I need to do work. But somebody else looking on can say, my God, how heartless, how ruthless could this person possibly be that they are continuing work as usual, or they're calling some people out to contribute to this particular thing. I mean, there's a delicate balance, right, between giving leeway and space, to persons and continuing being productive in a business endeavor. How do we, one, I guess, take care of ourselves, be responsible leaders, and probably demonstrate compassion and make sure that people feel the compassion, because it's definitely there. I can see it, but it will be there. But as leaders, the responsibilities, there's so much more, right? You have to think about a bigger picture than just my family and me. You're now thinking about those that you're responsible for. So how do we do that?
Absolutely. And this is an incredible challenge. And for the leaders, for managers, for the ones that hold the business together, that have employees, that's another level. Because yes, as you said, not only they face their own feelings, right? Then they have the concern for their immediate family, their relatives, right? But now they have also the team of people that rely on them financially, emotionally, or socially, in different ways, right? Well, number thing that I would like to mention here is that, as I actually mentioned a bit before, we cannot compare. So every leader, every manager, every executive director or minister, wherever they are in their place, would face the unique decisions, right? Some, I know in Ukraine for sure, had to even close the business. And that was the best they could do. And they had to take care of the immediate needs. That was their path for whatever reason. Others, it didn't, they just moved on. And as they went, they dealt with their feelings. The team members were taking care of themselves, and together, like as a team members, they support each other. Where there were some other people that had to readjust, maybe go half time, and maybe do both, and maybe give people a bit more space to process and deal with the things that trigger them. And then we had some other people that had to even redirect the business because it was not practical anymore, and it was not even like productive. Like if to talk personal, my brother's in media and TV stations. Well, TV stations were not, as you can imagine, progressing at all. So he had to face changing work and changing the field even. So that might be for many people, as well as some other people in my circles, that had to close what they were doing and actually try something very different. Maybe some worked offline, now they're online from a different country, and not even right away. So that means being incredibly patient with yourself, gracious towards yourself and your team members and your employees, not judging, right? Non-judgmental attitude, no assessing from point of, up to down. Compassionate approach, first starting with self-compassion, then compassion to others, and kind of saying, okay, I have no idea how it will look like in a year, in 10 years, but I can do one step at a time, one day at a time. And that's very unusual, especially for people in leadership, right? They're planners. Give me 5-year plan, 10-year plan, right? 15 and so on. Well,
strategic plans.
Oh my goodness, that throws the whole thing off. And people are like, wait a minute, I can't. No, you can't. So basically it's like one day at a time. Do I have food? Are my children safe? Are my, employees safe? Some people I know in my circle, they had to flee with the whole organizations. And they had to do the same thing they'd done, for example, online. Some people flee and even restarted schools, private schools in totally different country, bringing the same families from all over Ukraine to this one, city. Specifically, I'm thinking Czech Republic back then, just doing the same school, starting from scratch, relying on, financial support from abroad often. And that's very humbling. People that made profit and were in businesses, and all of a sudden relying on financial support from other countries, that's very humbling. That was incredibly humbling for me as well. When I didn't have my regular job, and all of a sudden, being a person who's not young that much, right, anymore, but having to feel like, well, maybe I'm a student against something, right? How can I, what is this? How can I not provide the way I was able to provide for me and my family, right? So what's going on now? Why am I in line for food? You're right. Or why I don't have enough clothes for me and my children? Well, of course not. I had 2 little suitcases I brought with me for who knows how many seasons I had. So this is very humbling and very individual. Every story is very unique. And as long as we come with the perspective of, I cannot predict, I do not know, but I will choose the path of integrity, right? I will do what I can in the given circumstance, one step at a time. I will not judge myself, and I will not judge those around me, whatever it would look like. I will choose not to give up. Sometimes you might feel like it. Sometimes people are laying in bed, feel like this is it. This is more I can handle, right? But then we look back and we read some of the people like, Viktor Frankl, all these stories from World War II and how people survived the concentration camps and how they had to face one at a time and how they survived and they found even meaning in suffering.
Yeah. And wow, you're speaking and I'm thinking about some of the social media clips I saw in Jamaica and just the love and the camaraderie. One person said, we're all equals now. Everybody's houses are destroyed. We're all homeless. There is no you're better than me. So sometimes trauma and tragedy is the great equalizer. And I think about totally different from the hurricane that passed through, but I think about changes in my own country that happened recently where thousands of persons were without jobs. And, it's easy for some persons to, look down, but we don't know. We don't know where we're going to be and what situations we may befall us. So it's so important, as you said just now, to not judge. To one, yes, have self-compassion and don't compare and don't judge others outside of our circumstance, but to show compassion, I think that helps us survive in this, what I would call crazy. I say it's madness all the time. Every time I look at it, at what's happening, I say this is madness. But what is this? But to just have so much compassion for those around us and to really take up a position of humility for those persons who, we don't know. We don't know. It's easy for ego because we're accustomed to or we have now, and we can choose not to support. We could choose not to reach out, not to help because we're thinking about ourselves. Self-preservation sometimes kicks in really hard. But, I feel like I'm inspired by the stories of just how much people gave of themselves and, just the support to ensure mutual survival. And I feel more than ever, and I would speak for my particular country, Trinidad and Tobago, where, crime and just so much negativity is in the media. And we as a nation, I think war or the threat of war for me made so many things insignificant. Immediately. Absolutely. A lot of things became insignificant to me. And I started to think about, how do I prepare to take care of my friends and family? How do I prepare for their survival? What can I do to ensure their survival? How can I support? What do I put in place? And I feel like we can use the threat, hopefully that's all it ever is, of war, to really make a big shift in our society, not just Trinidad and Tobago, but the Caribbean, to live better lives, to be more holistic, to change the way we take care of ourselves and our community, not from a place of me, but a place of we, to make better spaces. We say, let's make better workspaces together, but I say, let's make every space better together, right? At this time, we need to make every space. Crime, it's all about, I don't have, you have, and I want. Or it's a place of desperation, right? I desperately need. So I've exhausted the processes that I am capable to access or use to be able to meet my needs or that of my family. So let me do something out of the box. But how can we be more compassionate about those that I'm affecting and ask a different way or seek out an alternative? Or, I'm sure, Anya, I'm certain if a bomb drops tomorrow, those same criminals would be the ones helping, because those things don't matter anymore. Why can't we just fast forward and eliminate the bomb and change now, right? Let's use the threat of this thing to change our society now and evolve to make better spaces together. So, Anya, we're out of time, and we will definitely continue this conversation. It is a deep one, and I feel like we need more insights and support on how to cope well in these trying situations of trauma, of stress, anxiety that comes with all these perils. And so we will definitely hear more from you, and we invite persons who are so interested to grow and develop themselves and to have better holistic lives to your upcoming therapy series, where you would be supporting leaders in building connection and support, social support. So it's a series that's just one session, and I know that you blow it out to the water as you always do. And so persons could sign up at ttmhub.co/events, and they will see all your lovely sessions there, and they're free to go ahead and sign up. All prices are in US dollars. But if you're Trinidadian and you are having challenges doing that, you can email us at grow@ttmhub.co. That's grow, GROW, at ttmhub.co. Thank you so much, Anya, for this time, and we'll be hearing more from you soon.
Thank you, Lara. We'll see each other soon.